Hi, I'm Congressman Kevin Kiley, and I'm here with Chris Didier and Laura Didier, who are my two guests at today's State of the Union address, which President Biden will be delivering in just a few hours. Chris and Laura are two of our nation's leading advocates when it comes to raising awareness about the dangers of fentanyl in trying to help our country overcome this crisis that's producing far too many tragedies every day. One of those tragedies happened to Laura and Chris themselves when they went through what is every parent's worst nightmare and lost their son, Zach, who is a senior at Whitney High School in late 2020. Laura and Chris, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Washington.
Thank you for the invitation.
And I just want to start off by asking you to tell me a little bit about Zach.
Zach is an amazing soul. He is a young man who was inspired to do well. He was very eager to participate in just about anything his friends were interested in. He was extremely successful academically in his classes. He was a recognized and respected multi-sport athlete. He really enjoyed soccer and track and field, namely. And he was very active in his community service. He was involved in scouting. He went to every summer scout program. He was working towards the goals to earn the Eagle rank, and he was also the lead role in his high school musical production. So he's a young man who is firing on all 8 cylinders, very successful in his endeavors. But I think one of the best attributes about Zach is how he really inspired others to be the best version of themselves, to basically just go with the idea that, hey, we can all be better, we can all be faster, we can all do well in everything we can do. And it was quite inspirational to Zach's mom, Laura, and me, and our other children, and our neighbors and friends.
Yeah, he was just very charismatic. People were drawn to him because he was so likable, and he was always kind of a cheerleader for everybody, always trying to encourage others and look out for everybody. He was just really fun to be. He was silly and goofy and talented and smart. It just left a giant hole, when we lost him so unexpectedly and tragically. And it was, it turns out from a danger we didn't even know to warn him about. And so that's why we're so passionate about spreading this message and letting his legacy be one of service and one of continuing to help other people as he did in his 17 years here.
Well, I've seen firsthand the way that you are making sure that that legacy is an incredibly impactful one in our own community. And I've been amazed at the work that you've done locally in Placer County, but your efforts actually have really gone all across California and all across the country in many ways. Could you just talk a little bit about some of the work that both of you are doing to raise awareness and to bring change?
Sure. Do you mind if I
Go
start? So when we got the confirmation that it was fentanyl that took Zach's life, fortunately we were on the same page, and our older 2 kids were on the same page about being a voice in this crusade to save lives and to educate young people. So I've really kind of stayed very much kind of in that lane of advocacy, of awareness. I feel like that's where Zach's story can make a really big impact, because when we share about him, because he was in high school, his story does resonate when we're talking with middle school kids and high school kids. So as you mentioned, Placer, our community, has been incredible in really galvanizing this group of stakeholders in our county to become a part of this awareness messaging. We started our One Pill Can Kill Placer campaign, and different arms of that are working with mental health and behavioral health and substance use treatment, and also primary prevention with our school outreach and assembly campaigns. A lot of the resource materials that we use come from Song for Charlie, which is a nonprofit that I've been working with, and it's all on finding out where those information gaps lie for parents and students, and really targeting the messaging around getting them up to speed on what this crisis is all about, because unfortunately Zach's story is not unique. There are a lot of young people like Zach that don't have red flags, that haven't been struggling, and unfortunately, because this landscape is really a minefield, It might be a young person that's self-medicating or experimenting for their first time, or it's just a brand new situation for them, and they can step on that landmine, and that's it. They can't learn from the mistake. They can't kind of grow through a challenging period of time or like an experimental phase. That might be it.
That's right.
I taught Zach soccer for 6 years, and he was very close to his soccer team, and I knew these young men very well myself. And when we were starting to piece together what was really going on, like us, they were suffering with extreme disorientation and debilitating torment. Like, how can this healthy, young, inspiring man just no longer be alive? And at the time, we were thinking his heart just stopped, but we don't know why. And when we explained that it appears that the pieces we're putting together was as a result of a fake pill, a prescription pill that has the same size, shape, color markings, but it's actually a fake pill that has a lethal amount of illicit fentanyl in it that just consumed his life almost within minutes. The look on their faces, his friends' faces, the people he cared about, just really hit hard, because it made us realize, gosh, I care about these young men, and so did Zach, and they are just completely confused. It just added to the debilitating torment. So we knew that was a trigger for us to say, we have to understand what's going on, what is this danger all about, and what's this deception behind the danger. And as Laura mentioned, there are several nonprofits that we've worked with since our time. And one of the others that I'd like to mention is Victims of Illicit Drugs. That's one of the nonprofits I've partnered with. And the idea to bring awareness and education, and to ask for help with Congress and other people who have the ability to make a difference, to implement safeguards and streamline the process of investigations and to prevent deaths, is something we're very motivated to do. And I feel fulfillment being able to do that.
Well, I know that you have saved lives already. There are specific examples that we've talked about where parents weren't even aware that this was a risk, and you made them aware of it. And I know that your work is going to continue to save many lives in the future. So thank you for everything that you're doing. But I think that a lot of us in this country as a whole have been slow to really wake up to the scale of this problem. That fentanyl poisoning is currently the #1 cause of death for young adults, more than suicides, more than car accidents. So for parents who are watching, what is your message to them, and what part can we all play in trying to raise awareness and to save lives going forward?
Well, I would say the message is, there is no longer, if there ever was, not my kid. It's completely not true anymore. This can happen to any young person with a cell phone. The way that these pills are being deceptively marketed, it can be a decision that a child just doesn't really understand the level of risk that they're taking. So my message to parents is, please educate yourself on what this crisis is all about, because it can very easily happen to any person. And then have those conversations, without judgments, without moralizing, just sitting down to say, hey, this is different and new. I didn't have to deal with this when I was growing up. Your older siblings didn't have to deal with this. This is a newer crisis, and it requires all of us talking about it, all of us working towards solutions, and don't feel that you're somehow insulated from this crisis potentially impacting your family.
Thank you. Chris?
I must echo what Laura said. If a parent is thinking that this is a tragedy but can't happen to my kids, if they're thinking not my child, I would say think again, because this is happening at a rate that has far exceeded most people's understanding of anything that could actually happen. It is a danger that exists that is coming across from a deceptive nature, and there's treachery and trickery as far as how to advertise and how to reach out through social media apps. So as we've already heard today, it's important to understand, break through the stigma of drug issues and understand what's happening. Why is this different? The drug landscape isn't that slippery slope anymore. It truly could be a minefield. a first-time user of a young person who thinks they can self-medicate could literally have half a pill and have enough illicit fentanyl to kill 3 or 4 grown adults one time. So learn about this danger and share it with your teens. Have those heartfelt conversations with them. I also recommend talking to the parents of your teens' friends, talking to your teens' teachers, coaches, and counselors, just to kind of stir the conversation about what's this all about, what's the deception all about. Mm-hmm. And for the teenagers, my message to them, I would like to just add, this is a crisis you didn't start, but you have the most influential power to make a difference. So I would encourage parents to share that with the kids, having an approach not in a denigrating way or a, hey, you shouldn't do this. More of an approach of, hey, I'm just learning about this danger, and this is something that's new, that's evolving, and it's actually worsening because there's even more powerful synthetics on the horizon.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have to sit and talk about it. I think then you tend to have an above-board conversation with these young teens. Mm-hmm. So getting smart and having conversations.
And if I could just add one other part, and I know we've talked about this before, that when we share Zach's story and we talk about the lack of red flags, how well he was doing, it is in no way to say that our loss is more tragic. That's not it at all. It's to say that we want all parents to understand how quickly this can happen. We don't want parents to be complacent, thinking, we each had a remarkably close connection with Zach. He had a stellar group of friends. He was super well supported, and it can still happen. So it's more that we want parents to understand why this conversation is so important. Even if you don't see red flags, even if you think your child might be immune from something like this, you still need to have this conversation because you just don't know.
That's such an important point, and you are really an inspiration. I'm very much committed to working with President Biden and members of Congress on both sides of the aisle to come up with solutions, and I'm hopeful that we can turn a corner. We have to turn a corner and get this crisis under control. And when we do, it's going to be in large part because of your efforts and those of folks like you. So thank you for everything that you're doing, and thank you for the honor of being my guest tonight for the State of the Union.
Thank you.
Grateful,
Thank you very
very
much.
grateful, Kevin. Thank you.
Be here.